wanted to ask you if you think America can be saved by religion, or if religion can save America.
Damn. We could only hope.
Right.
But I think, if you take all your feelings out of the belief system that is, predominant in America, which is Christianity. Can Christianity work? Yeah, I think Christianity can work if it's, if they apply themselves to it the right way. But I don't think that Christianity is going to work fully for African Americans.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think that it is a black and white issue in this case. And the reason why is because we have to be honest with the inception and purpose of why Christianity was designed the way it was. And what was the intention behind the particular design that it is, because it's based on much ancient, older, universal principles and natural laws. But then they take it and then they tweak those natural laws in a certain way to serve a particular purpose. And part of that purpose was to seduce African people into the chattel slavery thing.
Yeah.
So that religion is particularly designed to attack your sense of agency if you are of a opposite color of, their deity, Jesus.
I have a question. Do you think that's more regionally in the U.S., like Southern Baptist, or is it doesn't matter, up in Boston, it's the same thing because it's the depiction of Jesus, or is it,
No, the original. So now you've got a million different ideas about what Jesus may have looked like.
right?
Okay. It doesn't function like that. The icon doesn't function on the subconscious that way. Okay. The way the icon functions on the subconscious is whatever image you want to layer over what Jesus did or didn't look like, or if he was alive or not. That image is Cesare Borgia. That is the first image that is associated with Jesus. So it doesn't even matter if you have never even seen that image. It doesn't matter. That's the image is in the subconscious minds of enough people that have seen it. And so even if you practice Christianity, you haven't seen it, you have a concept, a spiritual concept or metaphysical concept of what's called an egregore. And so the egregore of Jesus Christ, which was formed whenever the Borgias decided to do this painting, that was the birth of the egregore. And so now, which is this spiritual giant that all this Christian power is poured into and drawn from, whether or not you've got, a different image or idea of what it might have looked like. And so this is the only difference, I think, in Christianity and Islam. There's not an image of Muhammad. I mean, it's got a lot of other pitfalls in their religion too, but it's different. The color dynamic is taken out of it.
Jews don't have an image either, though. They just talk about, the Creator and everything up through the Old Testament. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, because...
Well, the Judaism is based more on a closer relationship to these ancient principles. So you get these ancient principles, and Judaism has a different position in those ancient principles as opposed to these modern belief systems. Because what you get from Judaism is Abraham. And so all these religions now become Abrahamic religions.
Yeah.
And so now Abraham is associated entirely with Judaism, and he's associated entirely with Islam. He's both somehow simultaneously. So ultimately, the religions are meant to be interlocking pieces, and not where they are
complementary.
Yeah, they're complementary pieces to each other. And then how Judaism ties in there is it has an older relationship. So like it's more of it's the software, and Christianity and Islam is just like updates on the software.
Okay.
But the actual software to the belief system is Judaism. So they do have an image, even though they don't have an image that directly associates them with a color dynamic. Because Jesus is identified as a Jew and a Christian at the same time, exactly the way Abraham is identified with as a Muslim and a Hebrew or something at the same time.
Yeah.
And so it interlocks these. So just by default, if Jews accept Jesus, whether they say he's the Son of God or not, they accept him as one of theirs. That means it stands to reason that they were all of the same. Which they say he's Semitic. This is a Semitic culture. This is a Semitic environment. But Cesare Borgia is Spanish, European Spanish guy. You see, and so that's why that egregore is poured that way. So ultimately, the Spanish demographic of Christianity is going to overtake the whole thing.
Oh yeah,
because Cesare Borgia is Spanish, and it's not for the reasons that people that live their lives according to ephemeral color dynamics might think. It's more about the belief system that they all adhere to. So just like Christianity is not going to be a full service to African American people, Christianity is actually going to be of less service to white people than it is to Hispanic people. It belongs more to them than it does even to white people.
Yeah.
And so they got to figure out a way to reconcile that at some point, because they're all Christians. This is supposed to be a Christian country, but they're not treating their Hispanic brothers like fellow Christians.
Well, I think we have a problem with hypocrisy here with, Christianity in general, where, Christian values, but how we treat people is not Christian. Or people who, like attacking people who are Christians themselves going to church.
Yeah.
Like, what's the conflict?
Well,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's if you're really the good Christian that you think you are, then there's no problems.
Well, it's time for everybody, all of us, to start, practicing introspection. Stop believing your own bullshit so that you can feel justified in doing what it is you want to do. So you believe in your own bullshit. Like you get right there where that rubber meets the road, you've got to change that. And then that's what we all carry out into society.
Right.
But it's reached the point where it's got to happen on an individual basis.
Yeah.
So, Christianity I think that African Americans need a spirituality that better serves them and the environment that they came from and the relationship that we originally had with Africa and African spiritualities.
What does that look like?
African spiritualities, you got different African spiritualities. You have a Kemetic spiritual system. You have Ifa, and these are different spiritual systems in Africa were structured in a way where it was your understanding and relationship to natural laws and forces that governed our environment and that governed us, and how to know when we're in sync or out of sync with these natural laws and with our environment, and how we should be functioning and as individuals and in a social structure. Even if you have two nations on the continent of Africa that are in conflict for whatever reason, they are going to let their spiritual systems decide, what needs to be done here. And from there, it's a delineation into war. And so, I just think that it'll have the black community in America will be more fulfilled in terms of having a relationship with their creator and a relationship and better understanding of their environment.
Do you think Christianity hinders people from personal accountability?
No, I think people hinder themselves from it. So, if you go back to the most ancient forms of spirituality and the way the universe or the cosmos or a divine intelligence communicated to people, it is going to be through symbols, and those symbols are going to contain ideas and puns and they're icons. When you fast forward into modern times and you have these holy books like the Bible, the Quran, a little older is the Bhagavad Gita, the Popol Vuh, and you accompany these different religious texts, some of them more dogmatic than others, but you have what's called free will, okay? Now, whether or not you know exactly when or how you are exercising free will, that's between you and, whatever consciousness you feel you hold yourself accountable to. But the communication that's presented to you has to be giving you options and choices, whether you realize that's the way it's communicating it to you. So, for example, in the Old Testament, you get a lot of raping and pillaging, and just a lot of horrible acts, okay? And a lot of times these acts come from their God, okay? Does that mean you should act like that? Now, that's a hard choice because if you have a low sense of consciousness, a sense of awareness, accountability, or if you're going to think God did it, it's okay for me to do it if God did it. But maybe that's not the meaning of that, the lesson that's behind that. Okay? Maybe this God is being willfully wrong to see if you would blindly follow bad leadership. Maybe from that, generations of misinterpreting these lessons, you decided that maybe you're supposed to follow bad leadership because technically this Old Testament God is bad leadership. And so now here we are, however many thousand years later, and you follow these doctrines and don't realize these, centuries of misinterpretations has led you to following bad leadership. And so, does that mean that the religion is bad? Not necessarily, because the religion is giving you a choice, like an interactive book.
Right.
And because you keep leaning into your lower impulses and desires, you have followed it down the wrong path. But that wrong path has to exist in order for you to make the choice.
But what about the doctrines of like, forgiveness for all your sins and things like that, where, people make bad choices, but ultimately
Yeah,
it's like there's
but
no
it
consequence.
goes back to that lesson of free will. If you feel that someone has died for your sins 2,000 years ago, is that a get out of jail free card for you? Is that a blank check for you? Some people take it that way, and some people
Right.
don't take it that way, and some people go a
Right.
step further and says, "I hold myself accountable." I don't see, the subconscious, the trap door that you're letting in with that kind of doctrine is you are subconsciously taught that you don't have to hold yourself accountable. If this guy comes down here, the perfect white guy came down here 2,000 years ago and died for your sins, he's being held accountable for everything you do wrong. Okay, and so you don't have to be accountable for what you do wrong. That's what that is subconsciously teaching. Now, whether or not you're aware of it,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. You signed a contract to believe in that doctrine. You got to understand what you're letting in the back door. So now you are programmed that you're not supposed to be held accountable for what you do. And some people take that to the extreme, and so that's where you get behavior patterns in societies that people are supposed to be Christians. So how do we have these horrible behavior patterns? Because everybody's not conscious, so they're not what this holy book is communicating something different to everybody. There's no two people are reading the same book.
Oh, yeah. Even like the same
Yeah, and so that's
excerpt
why you get these
is
guys that
interpreted
stand in front
differently.
of the room and they tell you what you should think about this particular story or what, because you don't know what you should think about it.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. And then you get movies like Dogma
yeah, and
that
so
like
and now the wheels have come off the wagon, but it goes back to you know holding yourself accountable, even if your God tells you that you don't have to hold yourself accountable. Who are you really listening to? Who is this God? If this God is saying you don't have to
right.
hold yourself accountable, you don't, the qualities that feel like they make you grow towards the sun, the qualities that that make you stand erect inside, that are virtuous and integral and ethical, and so these in the deepest part of you, but your belief system is telling you that you can dismiss these things. Now, it's just
Yeah.
offering you that option to dismiss it. And so what is it giving you in exchange for you to be willing to toss away those things that your DNA is telling you are the qualities that you should be living by? Like, I don't
Right.
care the most racist old white baby boomer guy that's out there right now. He know racism is bullshit. He knows it's complete bullshit. He knows deep down. He
Deep
knows it's
down he
dumb.
knows.
Yeah, he's scared.
He's scared.
And so then we got to start asking ourselves the right questions. What are you really afraid of? You know what I mean? Why are you afraid of that? Why? And just
Yeah.
keep going. And
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
Christianity is good for some people. You see what I mean?
Yeah. Some people Yeah, it's like an authority to like
Yeah.
give you like bumpers on
And
your
it,
lane.
you know, if you've got something in there that you really want to be a good person, Christianity it can take you there. Islam can take you there. So, you know, I don't think we've got nobody out here that's about to develop a whole new belief system for these plebs. So they got to make do with what they
Yeah.
have. So, and they need a belief system. You cannot corral and govern plebs without a belief system.
Yeah. What just kind of came to me now as we're talking through this is like the accountability part, or like your sins are forgiven. It's like, but that's for the afterlife, like when you know you're trying to get to heaven and do those things. While you're here and doing all this, and you know you're going to be forgiven eventually, you still got to deal with all your consequences here. So how you want
Well,
to do
reality
that
is not,
is your
reality is not what you think it is. It's possible that we live in a reality where it is opposite day. Maybe this is the afterlife,
right.
you know?
Yeah,
May
and that's why we're
Yeah, maybe this is the
slugging
afterlife.
through
Maybe
it.
this is where you come, where you are living, and you have to be tested through sensation. You know,
Yeah.
you need this nervous system to act on your soul to see what decisions you make, and maybe those choices impact your soul when you go back to the life, and everything is reversed, and this is actually the afterlife, and that's why it's so important. You know, that's just for shits and giggles.